Hello and welcome. This video is a guide for how to do the QBD without summoning, overloads, or armor. Of course you can bring better gear. The reason I'm not bringing any armor is to show that it doesn't matter what armor you can afford, you can still get the kill. You can also bring a Beast of Burden if you have it, which I would highly recommend, and if you have overloads, of course bring it. Now for what gear to bring, I'll talk more about that once I actually start the kill. So you want to bring a rune crossbow or a chaotic crossbow with ruby bolts. In the kill, I used about 150 ruby bolts, so 300 is a safe amount if you get it on your first try. Then you want a melee weapon for killing the wraiths. You could either bring a rapier and use it on slash or a vine whip. The reason I brought a vine whip is because it has a special attack that hits multiple targets, which is helpful for the fourth wave when you have to kill the 4 souls. Before killing the QBD, you want to get your bonfire boost, so use your highest level logs. You want to bring 6 logs out, light 1, and then add 5 to the fire. This will give you a life point boost, boosting how much bruise heal and your maximum HP. In my inventory, I have an anti-fire potion. If you have super anti-fire, you'll want to replace your anti-fire shield with a dragon defender. This will help you kill the souls. Now for the sake of the video, I did not pot at the bank, but I would highly recommend this. So if you have overloads, overload at bank, heal up, and then have a fresh inventory. Or if you have just super pots, use that. That's fine. To get there, you want to home port to Port Sarim, and then run northwest, enter the cave entrance, go through the shortcut. If you can't use the shortcut, just go through the other side of the cave, or however you get there. Now, when you get to the 3rd floor, you want to pray magic because the monsters are aggressive and they will hurt a decent amount. Like right there, I got hit 79. Now, if you didn't pot at bank, you want to set your anti-fire before you go in, because sometimes you may forget when the fights start. You should set your quick prayers to pray range and eagle eye. If you have rigor, you can use that. So at the start, you want to pray range, use eagle eye. If you're on turmoil, you want to use leech range and leech defense. Now you'll see this fire wave attack. You'll see that there is a gap in the fire wave. You want to stand in that gap so that the fire don't hit you. If you stand still and the fire hits you, you'll get hit by 200s. If you feel that you're not going to make it to the gap, you should run through the gap. It'll only hit you with 1 200, but you want to still be prepared for if there's more waves. In the first phase of the QBD fight, the QBD will only fire 1 firewall at a time, but in later waves it'll increase to 2 firewalls and then 4. The QBD also has a range attack where it swipes its head at you, but this is completely protected by your protect from range. You want to stay a little bit far away from the QBD because it has a melee attack that can hit 4 or 5 steps away from the head, and it hits fairly high, so you want to stand back and range it from afar if you just want to get the kill. In the video, you can see that I'm usually standing 2 steps west of the middle artifact that's in the middle of the room. That's because when the QBD does a firewall attack, I'm in the center, so I could either go to the east or west, depending on where the gap is. Also, I'm 2 west of the artifact because if you have a Dreadnought, it won't get stuck behind the artifact, which happens kind of often when I was using it. When fighting the Queen Black Dragon, you want to make sure you have your game messages on filter. This will prevent all the brews that you sit from spamming out your chat. During your fight with the Queen Black Dragon, you will receive messages in your chat hinting at the dragon's next attack. For example, the Queen Black Dragon takes a huge breath, means that she is about to use a firewall attack. So you want to make sure that you're in the center of the room so that you can run to either gaps, depending on which side of the map it is. When the bar on the top is almost down to 0, you want to be in the center of the room so you could activate the artifact. You want to activate the artifact as soon as possible because when the bar on the top hits 0, the queen will start spitting out giant worms. Now the giant worms hit with a magic damage from far away, and these damage do add up. They can hit fair like 250s. So you want to first activate the artifact and then kill the giant worm. When preparing to activate the first artifact, just hover your mouse over the artifact and wait for the option to show up, but remember to look at the chat and your HP bar. On the second phase, you'll notice that she has a new attack where she can summon tortured souls. When they are summoned, they'll summon a dark shadow under you, which will hit 200 if it hits you, but you can avoid this by running the shadow into them. When the tortured souls are summoned, wait a second and then click 2 steps west, or it doesn't matter how far west as long as you run through them. This will make the shadow follow you, and instead of the shadow hitting you for 200, it'll hit the tortured soul for 200 damage. Getting the timing right is crucial for phase 4, where there will be 4 tortured souls. So if you mess up on wave 4, you'll get hit for 4 times 200 damage. At 4 minutes and 58 seconds in the video, I'll put a timestamp in the description, the soul summoned itself again. You want to run through the shadow so that the dark shadow follows you through and hits the soul instead of you. When a soul appears, you want to attack it with melee or range. I'm not sure exactly which one is better, but I like to melee with a whip or rapier because it has a faster attack speed than a crossbow. If you have more questions, check the description for other videos that may help. On the second phase, you'll notice that the Queen Black Dragon uses a firewall attack, but this time it has 2 firewalls. All the firewalls that the Queen Black Dragon does, you are able to get from one side to the other, but when you have to get from the east to the west, it requires really precise timing. If you're even a second off, you might not make it to the other side without getting hit, but even so, you'll only get hit by maybe 1-200. Each time I run from one fire to the other firewall that are on opposite sides of the map, I'll say made it in the video. So if you're not entirely sure when to click, you can look at those times in the video. You can also do this for looking at when to click for the tortured souls. Now I should note that when tortured souls appear, they are not always automatically aggressive, so they'll walk away, and if you're trying to run through them to lure the dark shadow into them, they sometimes will walk in a different spot, so it doesn't work all the time, but most of the time it does work. And that's all you need to know for phase 2. There are 2 firewalls this time, and tortured souls are summoned every now and then. Of course, check the chat box for hints. And if you look at my inventory, you'll see that I don't have an exact 3-to-1 ratio for brews to restore. That's because if you brew 7 times in a row and then restore twice, your stats go all the way up to normal. Now this is because when you brew down, it's done by percentage of your current stats, while when you restore, it's based off of your base stat. So you want to do this in the first 3 phases where brewing isn't that much of a problem. Because on phase 4, you want to keep it a simple 3-to-1 ratio when you're brewing. So when you see the boss's HP is low, you want to start going over to the southwest where the next artifact is. When the bar on the top hits 0, you'll be able to activate the artifact. You want to go over and activate it and get off the artificial platform really quick, because every time you stand on it, every couple seconds you'll get hit by a 200 if you're on that platform. So you want to stand on the solid platform, this half semicircle. Once you're back on the solid platform, you want to kill any giant worms you see. If the QBD summons some tormented souls, you want to do a little trick where you run through them and the dark shadows will hit the souls. Then, since there's 3 of them, you could decide if you want to use your spec to kill them really quick. If you have a vine whip, you can use the spec and make sure it's hitting all 3 of them to speed up the kill. So earlier, you saw that the QB was getting healed by rapid 40s at the same time the tormented souls were getting hit by rapid 20. The QB starts to heal off of the tormented souls after they've been out for a certain amount of time. So you want to make sure you kill them, because the first reason is if you have no armor like I do, they do hit like 150s on you if you have low defense. Then there's also that they summon the Dark Shadow every now and then, although when they do it the second time, they summon themselves again, so that's kind of a hint. And then the third reason is that the QB heals off of it. Now you could argue that you might as well just be attacking the QB since it has such low defense. But for beginners, I would recommend just killing it so you don't have to deal with the shadow the second time around. The QB in phase 3 and 4 gets different kind of crystals where she will be weaker to magic but strong against melee, or weaker to melee but strong against magic. Now for beginners, this doesn't really matter too much because you're going to stay far away ranging. I'm not going to add a melee guide for beginners because it's just so much safer to range. But with it weaker to melee, you can get some really nice hits. Like when it's blue, it's weak to melee. I got some really nice DDS hits. I got 1,000. I wonder how high you can actually hit, and it can really speed up the kill. But Just for beginners, I would say ignore whatever crystals it's using, because either way, you're going to be ranging. On phase 3, it'll be 2 Tormented Souls instead of 1. They will usually spawn to the west and east of you. When ranging, you want an open area around you so that the Tormented Souls can spawn in a predictable location. But if you're touching like a wall or meleeing it, the Tormented Souls can't spawn in that area, so it'll spawn on a different corner of the map. So you want the area around you clear so you know where they're going to be. Then you can run the shadow into them when they spawn. If you haven't noticed already, the QBD does a fire wave attack where there is a gap you have to run through. Now, there is only 3 possible locations for you to run through, and the QBD just cycles through them. There's the one west of the pillar, there's the east and west one, and that's it. It just cycles through them, so you just have to remember which part on the floor you have to click on to get through the wave. Also, remember to sip your anti-fire potion, because if you forget and you don't have an anti-fire shield, it can hit up to like I think it hit a 600 or a 700. It could probably hit 800s too. And if you have a shield on, it'll still hit like 400s. By now, phase 3 is almost over. You're prepping for phase 4. You want to stay full HP. And hopefully you have done the 7 brews to 2 restore sips for the first 3 phases, because then that will bring your brews to restore ratio down to about 3 to 1. That way when you're on phase 4, you can brew 3 times and sip restore once to stay high HP. Because on phase 4, you could get comboed for like 800 from the souls, and if the QBD choose to do a fire attack, that can hit like 200s. Once you have activated the southeastern artifact, you want to run back, kill the giant worms, and then attack the QBD. The QB in this phase will be able to summon 4 Tormented Souls. Now this time they're not going to be directly west and east of you. They'll be diagonal of you, so that's northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest of you. So to dodge this, you want to go 2 steps diagonal in either directions. And make sure you're in an open area so they don't spawn in a different location on the map. Here there are 2 things you can do. You can either kill them quickly and use up all your spec, or you can save it for in case they use a time stop attack. The way to tell is if one of them starts talking about something about time stop, and usually they'll appear in the southeast or southwest, and they're usually by themselves. They're not really trying to attack you unless you attack them. One of their final messages before they actually activate the time stop is something along the lines of something like, the spell is almost complete. If you see this and they're like half HP and you're not sure you're gonna make it, you want to brew as high as you can, because it could combo up to like 1300 from what I've seen, but it could also hit zeros. But to be safe, you want to brew as high as you can. The QBD also does a super sneeze attack where she will breathe extremely hot flames in the middle of the room and moderate flames on the outside. So as long as you're not in the center, you should be fine. It'll hit like 60s if you're on the outer side and around 250s if you're in the center. And this will go on for like 2 or 3 hits. Also, if I have not mentioned this earlier, you can tell what she's about to do by the text in your chat box. So if she says something about tortured souls, she's going to summon tortured souls. If you see hot flames at the end of the sentence, there's going to be hot flames. And the colors of the text are colored in different colors, so it's easier to tell them apart. And that's pretty much all you have to know about the QBD. There is a firewall attack. You just find the gap, go through it. There is tormented souls. You just run the dark shadows into them. There is the super sneeze, which you just have to stand on the sides to avoid. There isn't actually that much you need to know about the QBD. You just gotta do specific timing. And the weird thing I found about the QBD is it has like, it's supposed to have 75,000 HP, but then if you actually count it, you only get like around 30,000. I guess you don't actually kill the QBD, because the last hit I did in the video was 1,000, which is, you would have to have at least 5,000 HP left for it to hit that. Now, I know there are many guides out there already, but for my kind of guides, I like to show that you do not need expensive gears and pot to be able to kill whatever it is, such as my other guide like the Fight Kiln guide. So if you found this video helpful, give the video a like, and thank you for watching and have a nice day.